Hello and welcome to another episode of The Quantum Woman. I am Shamina Taylor, your host. Today's episode, we're going to talk about not processing our emotions and what does it really cause inside of you? What are the effects of it? And how can it create triggers in your life? And, one of the things that I found when I was going through this process myself was I had no idea I wasn't processing my emotions. I thought just not feeling something and stuffing it away was dealing with it. I'm like, when I cut people out of my life, I'm like, oh, well, I just handled that. That's done with, move it along. And I had no idea that you were actually supposed to process what you were feeling and move through it and feel the emotions, right? And the only thing that I did was just stop the emotions, and I would just freeze it in my system. And as you're listening, and maybe some of you already know this, that whatever we have within us is going to be what we're going to projecting outside of us. So whatever energy we have locked within us is what's going to be emitting, and that's what we're going to be attracting back into our life, right? So as children, I don't know if any of you were lucky enough to have parents, and this is no dig on our parents, right? They just did what they knew how. But, growing up, we were never told, yeah, it's okay. Little Sarah, feel all the emotions. Let yourself have a temper tantrum on the ground, it's okay that you're sad and angry right now. I mean, if you think about kids, they're so new to all these different emotions that are coming up. And a lot of the times, temper tantrums are because something else is going on, and you'll see grown ass people having temper tantrums, and you're like, oh, you're still 8, or you're still 5, or you're still 3, because you're stuck at this emotional age where you don't know actually how to process your emotions. So the drawback of not, really feeling things all the way through in just trying to freeze that emotion in you is that you're freezing an emotion that needs to be processed all the way through. Like when you're angry, to feel the anger; when you're upset, to feel the upsetness; when you're sad, to feel the sadness. When it's important for us to feel it all the way through. And I think in some parts of the world, they call this emotional bypass or spiritual bypass or whatever, when people don't want to feel what they're feeling, and they just life is good, let's just all be high vibe right now. And I realize, that's so destructive for us, not processing the emotion. Well, first, I'm going to explain to you why it's important to process. So one, we want to feel it all the way through, in a safe environment. We want to be able to have that emotion, feel it all the way through. And a lot of the times when you have programmed your nervous system, or you've been like I was for years, just cut someone out, or not, or feel something, or just, I'm just going to, move on and just freeze that. What we've done is we've trained our nervous system that if we felt any other emotion, it would equal, a lot of pain, or it would be re-traumatizing us, or would be feeling something really deeply inside of us that we don't want to feel. And again, I'm not a therapist. I'm not trauma informed. I'm explaining my experience. So if you are experiencing any level of trauma, I would go seek out a professional that can help you. I'm only giving you my experience that's helped a lot of women in my world, because I feel like even though sometimes people are trauma informed, they actually have the most amount of trauma, and they haven't processed a lot of their shit. And so just because you're a therapist doesn't, and no knock on therapists, but just because you're a therapist doesn't mean you actually know how to handle trauma. So you might be able to textbook it, you might have understand it, you maybe identify it, but I'm just speaking from my experience of processing it and what I've learned on my side. And if this helps you, great. But not being able to feel an emotion. So we're talking about feeling emotions. It gets stuck in you. So, and that, even though in your mind, you've shut it down and you're like, hey, I'm not thinking about that anymore, I'm just going to put that back here. Subconsciously, that's still stuff somewhere. And that's going to be emitting its own energetic frequency. It's going to be having its own vibration, even though in your mind, you're like, I'm still moving forward. A lot of times when people are trying to manifest something or to create their own reality, they're like, why isn't it coming? And then I'm like, okay, let's figure out what's in your field right now, what's in your subconscious that might be altering what your conscious mind is trying to do and think right now. Like it's basically trumping what you're trying to think. So, getting to the root of why your emotions may not be flowing all the way through, because you've got to, with manifesting, it's what you think, what you feel, and how you move in that energy is what you get to create. But you could be thinking something all day long and writing it down and really setting a desire for it, but it might not come to you because you've got something that's in the background that's playing its own little violin back there, and it's like, hey, that's my violin sound, by the way. But yeah, don't forget about me. I'm back here, just reminding you that I'm all your bullshit that you didn't want to look at, and it's over here. And so, I don't always think that we have to bring things up from the past. Sometimes just being aware of something that we're thinking or we're feeling can actually be enough awareness for us to be like, oh shit, like it was that event that was actually making me feel like this. So moving forward, feeling things all the way through, but not directing them at somebody is really important. That's why if you get angry with somebody or you're having an emotional response, write that text, but don't send it. Like go into your notes on your phone, say all the things and send them to like your safe person. My brother's my safe person, and where someone's not going to judge you and you're going to be able to they'll be able to witness your emotions if you need witnessing, just so you can feel a little level of validation about how you're feeling, not necessarily, for them to say, yes, you're right, but just to be like, yes, I get to feel, with my kids. My daughter's like, I get to be upset right now. And she's absolutely right. She gets to have that emotion. A lot of the times, when you've been in a toxic cycle for a long time, you've learned to shut down your emotions because someone will come around and tell you, well, you shouldn't be feeling that. Like, and I think that's what they call gaslighting. Like your emotions aren't right. You shouldn't feeling that. You shouldn't feel that. That's, what you're feeling is wrong. Look, we all are allowed to feel what we're feeling. Is what we do with it, then that becomes our responsibility, right? So a lot of times if you've stuffed an emotion, if you haven't felt it over the years, it becomes like this emotional garbage inside of you. A lot of people like to call it the dis-ease in the body, which becomes disease. I have a theory, and I have no evidence or facts to back it up, just letting you know right now. But if you look at patterns, there's something there. And a lot of people who have, and then people will say, well, what about kids? Okay, I'm talking about adults right now who have lived a good amount of their lives. But, I've noticed that people who have like strokes or they have heart attacks, you know, they might not have been a person who was able to feel through a lot of their emotions. Maybe they weren't living a very authentic self, which means that they're putting on another emotion, but what they're really feeling inside was something else. You hear a lot of people who commit suicide and you're like, gosh, they were so happy on the outside. Like it doesn't make any sense because they were taught like, let's put on this front, let's put on this mask, but deep down inside something else was going on. Right. But then I see a lot of men who have heart attacks and like, they were so healthy. Like what happened? If you're not taught to feel some pain or some angst, your heart, your arteries are going to harden. Things are going to get affected inside of you. Disease does start building up because there's dis-ease in the body. And, um, one of the things that people always say to me all the time, and they're like, gosh, you look so young. What are you doing? What is it about you? And I feel like as I'm getting older and I'm clearing away all the things that I like froze inside of me and emotions that I just locked in because I didn't know how to process them or was afraid to process them, or it just felt so hard to process them. I've processed for the last 10 years and I feel like I've just aged backwards. I've just gotten to a place where I found something that was still locked in there. That's why I think triggers are really a powerful thing, because they let you know like, hey, there's something in you right now that's unsettling, that's having some power over you. And how are you going to go about processing it in a safe way? Maybe it's somatic healing. Maybe it's hiring a therapist. Maybe it's, doing some great journal work. Maybe it's talk therapy. I don't know what it is for you. I can tell you, I have tried almost every healing modality that's out there. And I would say some things helped a little bit here and there. And that's why I created my program, because I felt like I had to go through a process that made sense to me. I like to know the how, and I like to have tools that can help me be the master. And a lot of women who have come into my my program, Accessing the Quantum Through Emotional Self-Mastery, our therapist. And they're like, wow, this program completely changed my life. It was so good because it taught me tools on how to be the master of my emotions and how do I process and feel through things. I'm not saying it's the be all end all, but it's like what I learned on my own, because I had to create something that I could go to every day when I found something new come up. A lot of the times when you're doing a lot of self-development work, you stay in this little bubble and you keep super safe because you don't want to put yourself in positions or in situations where you might have to be outside your comfort zone or to feel something that might make you feel uneasy or, have you stretched in a certain spot. Speaking from experience, I was in that little bubble. I'd been working on myself for a long time. But then the relationship parts, I kind of like turned that off. I became solo dolo for a while because I was working on me and my business. And then when I started dating again, I was like, oh, there's a whole lot of stuff I didn't know that was in there, right? That needed to come out. And I'm so happy because I feel like this lightness over me, like I lifted something. I was able to like process things all the way through. So, when you're asking for an end result and something, um, the universe, God, however you identify, is going to give you a situation that you can go through and help you move through it. It is important to process our emotions. It's really, really important. It's important because you don't know what an unfelt emotion is doing in your body right now. It could be the reason why you get angry at red lights. It could be the reason why, certain people are a certain way and they just piss you right off, or they just annoy the shit out of you. And you're wondering, like, why does this person, like, every time I see them, I have this response towards them? And maybe it has nothing to do with who they are, but they remind you of something, or there's some behavior that they're doing and it just, gets under your skin because there's something that you have not got control over. And I really feel like when we are able to identify that stuff, man, we can start like creating whatever we want, right? And we became a clean frequency in our magnetic field. I would always be wary about people, who are easy to not feel through something, because we're humans and we came here for human experience. And part of the human experience is emotions and feeling. And, when I really understood that was like my superpowers, my feelings, because I'm going to claim right now, like I'm a really smart lady. Like my head's like a computer. And I'd been only using that part of me, of my brain, my masculine thinking, that I'd turned off the feminine part of me, which is the feeling. And when I started tapping into that part and really healing through and letting those emotions roll, like that was the game changer for me. And for many women, when they start to actually feel and they get to bring that emotional power in, because that is really a place where we can, come from that strong alpha female and then start becoming that quantum woman, the woman who, has all these powerful emotions. And when you feel, there's something about your essence that changes. But if you're an ice queen and you're not processing all your emotions, or you've been the cutoff girl, or I just cut people out, and sometimes people, by the way, need to get cut out. And sometimes it's time to cut off, certain dysfunctional people. And sometimes the universe is going to drop them out of your life and you're going to be like, whoa, where all those people go? Because once you start elevating, people are going to start moving on the way out. But when you start feeling it, something uniquely happens inside of you. And, like I said earlier in this episode, we weren't taught what our emotions are that we should feel. And I think it's a really amazing when I see parents that are cool, calm, and collected, and their kids are just throwing down. And sometimes people are like, gosh, they have no control over their kids. Well, maybe they do. But maybe as a parent, they realize, like, you know what, I'm not going to stop this tantrum at the moment. I maybe, and it's all within the realms of being a parent. I'm sure they make a good decision. Like, I know that they're going to have to feel through this. Sometimes kids are being bratty and they need boundaries. But a lot of the times, I will say, well, why are you upset? What are you feeling right now? So my kids could start identifying what their emotions are, what made them upset. I want them to start at the like as a very young age. I asked them, why is this making you feel sad? What is it about that makes you feel sad? And okay, you get to be sad. And sometimes I would just hold them and just let them cry because they were sad. Sometimes I would let them just get angry. And, like I talked in another episode about the screaming tree, when you're told that your emotions are important, you automatically feel validated as a human. Because anytime you feel something, you're not going to feel shame about it. You're not going to feel sad, like, or depressed about it. You're going to feel like this is wrong that I feel this way, And until we become masters of our emotions, we have to allow those emotions to come up so that we can at least identify them and just, be a witness to them. And then if we don't want to feel that way, whatever it is, then we have to figure out why are we feeling this way? And how can we prevent that in the future? And this is where love just gets to come through, because love is one of the most powerful emotions of all. It's like the greatest thing to open your heart and feel. And there's a frequency to love. And a lot of the times when we're closed off and we're emotionally closed and we don't have that ability to feel, we might be the most loving people in the world. Because I would say I was one of the most loving people in the world, but you couldn't feel my love. You couldn't feel me. And when I started doing this where people could feel me now, they could connect with me. And when people can connect with you, man, that's a game changer in your whole life. The people want to give you things, do things for you. You become so magnetic because you are in a different state of power than somebody who's ashamed of what they're feeling. Because even though you might not be feeling it, guess what? Your energy will be emitting it. So it's a authentic game. It's a full game. It's in, out, all about, right? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If something here clicked for you and you want to share with me, let me know. If you thought it's an episode that others need to hear, please share with them. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you feel called, please leave me a review. I'd love to hear it too. And if you like meditating, or if you don't, you just want to listen, there's a wealth meditation that I have on my website at shaminataylor.com. You can click the bio, there's a link there. And Unlocking the Quantum Woman is my book. It's coming out. I'm very excited about it. I'd love to get that copy in your hands. You're going to be able to pre-order that soon. And go join my Quantum Woman group in Facebook. We have a lot of amazing content in there. So think about how you want to feel. Maybe you're driving and you want to give someone the bird. You know what? Maybe that's how you feel that day. And you'll go home later and you'll be like, maybe there's something that you have not allowed yourself to feel, but try not to direct it at other people until you've processed it in a way that you can communicate it in such a way that you feel like the most powerful version of yourself. All right. Bye for now.